Why, hello there, AnxiousCynic here, and we're going to be doing another review of the submissions that we got for the Sniper Warfare compilation that just came out this week. You may notice that I'm actually alone for this one, going solo. No Bean Dream to bounce ideas off of, so we're just going to get into this, but I wanted to go ahead and note, I had to pick a few submissions to review for this one. We got 11 submissions last time, and they'll just take way too long, unfortunately, so I went with some of my own picks and then the community picks for which ones were worthy of making it into the review process. Sorry we couldn't include everyone, it's just it takes way too long to get through these as it is. So the first one we have here is by BrickBang. For some reason I always want to call him Brick, aka Bang. I don't know why. Maybe that's how it was before. Anyway, let's go ahead and watch it. So first of all, with this one, this was one of the first ones I saw that I thought was kind of stood out. Decent lighting, nice quality. There's some flickering on the lighting. I don't know if it's due to like a low buffer setting or if it was intentional to mimic fire. But either way, I like the simple setting and whatnot. One little issue there that sticks out is there's he just got wrecked. There's as you can see there, the vine is kind of like bent outward as though there was a block there and it's gone or something. So little scenery issue. I like this effect here. I would have liked to seen it. Let's go ahead and go back real quick. It's a good effect, but it looks, it looks squashed. Maybe there's like a distort effect on this or something, but I don't know. There's just something that sticks out to me. Like I would like the idea of this for sure. But like one thing is the crosshair. I think if it's going to be kind of a digital scope, then having like a red dot or something would make a little bit more sense there. A little bit of a nitpick thing, but just to say, I like the effect. I just feel like it's a bit too distorted. Like it's a bit like vertically stretched or something, it looks like. So having it be a bit more consistent with the shape of the scope or something. There's much less of a buffer on the bottom rim than there is on the top, things like that. So kind of having that screen look a little bit more purposefully built into the scope rather than kind of pasted on would have helped this effect, but I do like the idea and the intention behind it. Like the use of the bullet there flying through space and time. Good particle effects, sound effects. And then the sword to the face. So getting into Vikram's, this one got a lot of the votes, I think, in the community suggestions. I should do a poll for it next time, honestly, but, you know, live and learn. I just wanted to test the idea, but maybe next time we'll actually do a poll where people can just vote. So right off the bat here, I think the setting, the lighting, the scenery used, I do think it's kind of obvious that it's a little piece of scenery in a vast abyss, but either way, the quality here, what he managed to do in a short amount of time is impressive as usual. The schematic here of this tall building is surprising to me. I don't know what kind of computer you got to do this in Minimator, but it seems like that would have been a tough one to render on the old computer. So one thing to note here is obviously there's dialogue and it's done through subtitles. It doesn't matter, okay, with, you know, animation, but the fonts here, like the font here, whatever, you really want to get a more fitting font and maybe not just leave it plain white. You want to make it kind of blend in with the interface that you're using. All the other effects are like beautiful, but then you have this really plain random text font. Like you want to really make sure that everything flows together because it's just such a simple thing that can throw off the overall quality. See here, this is a huge text, so it's really noticeable, and you want that to mimic this digital interface that you have. So like a basic font doesn't quite look proper here, in my opinion. Like the stats on the left side, good color choice. I think it blends in a little bit better, but a bit more of a digital font would have worked better. The target found, scanning, all that kind of stuff really needs a better font choice, and it needs to be a bit more consistent. I'm seeing like 3 or 4 maybe different fonts used here, so you want to have a consistent look to things. One of the things, let me back it up real quick here. During this section here, one of the things that stuck out to me, now this isn't a big deal or anything, but it's like he looks at everything but what is likely to be the target. You have these two guys meeting here, and he's looking around at everything else, and I don't know if it's meant to kind of just like be searching and he's sort of just scoping out the whole scene, or if he's actually searching for the target. In such a case, it's just a little bit of a logistical matter here. You typically would look at the two guys meeting first to see if that's your target. So that, I don't know, that just stuck out to me. I'm not trying to nitpick too much, but it's just one of those little plot story kind of logistical things. Not a deal breaker or anything. The effect is cool. I like what you did with it, but it kind of made me think about what was happening rather than just watching it. That's all. So one of the questions here as far as logistics go is he gets the target, and instead of just shooting the target, he shoots the other things. And it's a cool effect. I like the scenario that it creates. But again, logistically, it's like, why doesn't he just shoot the guy that he's after? He could shoot him and then start blowing up the cars and then achieve the same effect more efficiently. And then at the end, he shoots the guy in the head as he lays on the ground. And so it kind of becomes obvious that he was after that guy initially. So all this other stuff happened was kind of like fluff to make it cool. So you could do basically this exact same thing, but instead shoot the guy first so the target's down, everyone else reacts and starts pulling out guns and shooting up towards the sniper, and then he blows up the cars to get rid of them. And then he's like, you know, super badass sniper guy. But either way, it was still a great submission, but it's just, you know, it's just those little plot story type things that stood out to me, and I thought they were worth mentioning. Again, the animation quality and everything that, as Vikram is used to doing, is good, but just those little story elements and the technical issue of the fonts, that's all. So moving on to our next submission here, pause it, come on, is by Sheikhoo Missions. And let's go ahead and give this a watch. I don't think we need to back that up. So one of the first things that stood out to me with this one is it's doing a really good job of creating a scene. We have a lot of, you know, we have the establishing shots showing the battlefield. We got soldiers. There's multiple characters in the scene running. That effect there is very cool, going to the sniper first-person view. Guy getting nailed by a flamethrower. I think the guy was riding a horse. People were just getting wrecked. It's a really good job of creating a scene and then throwing the viewer straight into it. And the animation quality, while maybe not standing out on as top tier as some of the other submissions that we got, I think the filmmaking vibes, the elements that we have here that go into creating an engaging visual experience are up on, you know, prominent display here. So one of the issues you typically have here with like subtitled dialogue is when there's a longer sentence, it's difficult to read everything without pausing it. Again, nitpick thing, but it goes into the overall viewer experience of watching your work. So typically the rule of thumb, if I'm not mistaken, for subtitles is you want it to be on screen long enough for you to read it out loud 3 times. So if you can do that, then typically the viewer will have enough time to read it. Because if you're making this, then you know what everything says, and it's easy to overlook, you know, how short it actually is up on screen. So you can use that little technique to make sure it's up long enough. That was a badass shot right there, by the way, the guy running, and he just shoots so many falls down. Nice particle effects. It's a pretty cool plot device here, as though this guy has some information, little map or whatever, to let him know where the sniper is. It's a bit obvious, you know, like, oh, he's right here where this line is, but pretty cool, you know, plot device to show that he gets something off of that guy, let him know where the sniper they're hunting is. And then every killer gets his due. It's a rough ending. Either way, I really like this one a lot, as I've said. A lot of different things going into it, a lot of nice fitting scenery and multiple characters and stuff. A lot was going on here. Again, maybe a little bit of a hit on the overall animation quality, but the overall viewing experience, I thought this one kind of stood out to me in particular of all the submissions we got. Moving on, we've got Redstone Generations submission. So the first thing, obviously, that stuck out to me with this one is the frame rate here. It seems as though there's a low frame rate. And I was concerned this was going to be through the whole thing, but it actually seems to kind of come and go, so I don't really know exactly what the issue is there. I think this may have been done with a different program. I don't know if it's Blender or what. The lighting definitely appears to be different, but it's got a good look to it. It's just that frame rate. Also to note, the little created by text in the beginning was kind of a basic font. Again, that's a nitpick thing, but I would get something that's a little bit more fitting for the style and theme of your animation. This confused me the first time I saw it. I didn't know they were shooting. The bullet sound effects aren't the best. I thought they were just like scared and shaking. But the sniper sound effect was a little bit better. So it's kind of an interesting tank model here. I don't really have an issue with it other than the flickering texture of the cannon part. But it's very Minecrafty, so I don't really have an issue with this. I don't really care if it was a rig or just something like this, but little flickering textures, little details, you know, it's if you're doing something in a certain way, you kind of want everything to flow and not be too obviously bad. You want it to look intentional, so just little issues like that. But again, just like the last one, I think this one is kind of doing a decent job of creating a scene, kind of showing a battlefield, multiple soldiers. Interesting kind of plot device there with like lifting the body up to get the sniper to expose himself. The main issue again with this one is the frame rate, especially with that shot here. The guy goes up. This frame rate is so bad, like you can barely tell what's happening. I don't know if somehow that was intentional. I'm assuming not. But yeah, just I don't really know what the issue was here. Maybe if you're using Blender or something, the rendering process was murdering your computer or something. I don't know. But I don't know if you are using Blender, and I don't know, maybe you're using cycles. I'm not sure. This doesn't really look like cycles to me, but it also depends on the lighting that you got going on and stuff. So I don't know. You know, maybe you can clarify if you want to, either in Discord or the comments here. But the frame rate really hindered this a lot in terms of showing off the work that you put in and having the viewer be able to understand everything that's happening. Because like just like with that shot, it's clear, like you understand what's happening here. He's panning over because he sees the body and the body gets shot. So we get that, but it plays out in such a way it almost is confusing at first. So moving on here, we're going to Erlen's animation. So this is a pretty cool one, you know, breaking the fourth wall. He's kind of aware of the subtitles coming up or the text coming up. Really good animation quality. I don't know what the hell that is on the back of the dart there, but very cool, comedic, stylized animation. He hits the B by accident. Music changes perfectly. So this was the main thing for me that stuck out with this one, is I wasn't quite aware of what he's doing outside here. It's a comedic animation, and I love this part here where the bullet's just bouncing around all crazy and ricocheting. I knew exactly what was going to happen, obviously, if you've ever seen this gag before. So he gets tired of trying to snipe him and miss him. Tries, you know, just goes in for the kill, and then ends up whacking himself a little bit. So, yeah, I like this one a lot. I think a lot of people did. From what I could tell, I think this one and Vikram's was getting a lot of votes in the comments, and people were having trouble deciding. But the main thing here is just this. I don't know, like, again, good animation quality, lighting, everything was done very well. But I wasn't sure. I was like, what is he doing? I can understand him getting frustrated and just going outside. But the joke in the beginning is he's aware of the sniper and he's like, what? You know, like he's scared of it or whatever. again, just a joke. I'm not saying this has to be logical or anything, but he goes outside afterwards and seemingly for no reason. I don't know what he's doing. Is he supposed to be doing like some exercising, aerobics or something? Because if so, then a little hint there would have helped. But again, very nitpicky for, you know, the nature of this animation and whatnot. But either way, very good work, solid. And there it is, frozen at the perfect time. So there isn't much I can say about this one, honestly. It's generally overall well done. I like the little plot using Agent 47 Hitman and you know, turning it on its head, as you could you know, say, obviously, any, you know, stuff. Either way, great work there. And our final animation that we're going to be reviewing is by the Gaming Project Unit. So as you can imagine, this one stuck out to me immediately from this scenery here and this overall opening shot. Very cool, very atmospheric and moody. Multiple soldiers. Again, like that, I keep pointing that out, but it's like, it's easy to be lazy and like, you know, I myself making animations with one or two characters. So having multiple characters be in the shot is pretty cool.
Godspeed to you all.
It's about time. I'm sick and tired of this.
That, my sir, is the joy of warfare.
Walk cycle's a little bit weird here. The faces are a bit weird, I have to admit. That stands out to me. I think some people mentioned that in some comments on this one as well.
We have a small group of Soviets in Sector 7A. They seem to be moving towards Sector 7T.
I like the dialogue being added to this one, adding a bit more of plot, story, and characters to the overall animation. Dimming the light, it's a nice added little detail there that you don't see very often. And driving over, was that a body, I think? Again, another nice little detail. Scoping in. Now, one thing about this scope, let me back this up for a second. This isn't a big deal. I feel like I say that a lot. I'm trying not to be nitpicky, but I do want to point out things that cross my mind when I'm watching these. So, the fact that it has sides but no top, like it's not showing like a rounded scope, that's not a huge deal. Like there can be a weird scope perspective. But it did stand out to me. It was something I noticed, like, why is it this weird kind of perspective? If you showed what kind of scope he's using, that would kind of give the viewer an idea as to why it's going to have this view. That would probably help with it. Otherwise, I would try to go with a bit more, what would you call it, ordinary, typical type of scope view that you would see, because it would prevent the viewer from being distracted by a more or less inconsequential detail. And instead be focused on what you're showing on screen. Anyway, very cool scene there with the cars crashing. You don't see that very much in Minecraft animations from what I've seen. Nice rocket there. The rocket was a bit slow. We'll try to speed that up. Epic tank battle here. So this whole thing plays out pretty well. I like the idea of it and whatnot. The only thing that sticks out to me about this battle is it feels a bit too clean, I guess is the word. Like the camera is very stationary. There's no camera shake. Some camera movements here. Like this is all, it's just a tank sitting here waiting to get hit. So like having the camera shaking, maybe show a view from behind the tank, with the camera maybe panning behind it and aiming upwards towards where the RPG's about to come from, things like that, adding some momentum, some action, like a feeling to the scene with your cinematography would go a big ways here. I understand that animating a lot of characters doing things is a pain and would take a lot more time and everything. So if you want to kind of skimp on what's actually happening on screen, you can use your cinematography and the camera work to enhance what's happening. So adding that movement and that kind of kinetic energy of the cinematography would go a long ways to helping you produce the feeling that you're trying to get, even without having to show a lot more going on.
Your missiles on vector with base company. Sirens will be sounded. All squads within range. Should try and take cover as quick as possible.
So I do like the dramatic note here. Seems like what they detonated a big boomer, and everything is chaos and death. So yeah, I really like this one. I do have to say, and if this is your personal style, don't listen to me, but these faces, they stand out as kind of weird. Just gonna be honest there. It would honestly, to me, be better if you just had normal Minecraft faces. Even if they were just like this, get rid of the noses. I think the noses are what really do it. Just having a bit more of just the eyes, the eyebrows, and the mouths, I think is fine. You don't need the nose on here. That's really causing these characters to have a very strange look. It reminds me of like a clay stop animation or something. I don't know. Anyway, that would be one of my big recommendations, because it's honestly, you're doing a lot of interesting things and good ideas and good work here. Obviously, like I said, the walking animation could be improved. The guy's not really swinging his arms much. Not that he would be swinging them a lot in this little walk that he does around here. But see, that animation there is not too bad. Decent character going on there. But this here, like, again, it reminds me of like claymation or something. I don't know why exactly, but the faces and the way he moves. So the legs are moving quite exaggeratedly, if that's a word, and the arms are barely moving at all. So yeah, just work on that walk cycle, get it, where you want it. Unless, of course, that's your style. If that's the way you're going, then do you, man. But that's just my suggestion. It stood out, so I'm mentioning it. So with all that said, hopefully that was interesting. Sorry we couldn't review all of them, but again, like, this video is probably going to be long enough as it is. Oh my god, it's like probably 30 minutes. Ugh. So now what I'm going to do is give the first, second, and third placements based on these animations and my review of them, how I felt about them. And I think my ultimate decision may be a bit controversial. So with that said, as we know, the usuals we have here, Vikram, we've got Erlen. They did excellent work. Really happy with what you guys did. Again, even BrickBang, you did a great job. But to me, an animation is more than just the quality of the animation, and who I felt did the most with this theme, with decent animation quality and all those kind of, the plot, the story elements, the characters, the way everything was done, the way everything came together. I'm going to give first place to Sheikhoo Missions. It just had all those ingredients that came together and created an interesting and enjoyable animation. So that's what I'm going to go with. I know a lot of you guys were saying Vikram and Erlen, and I'm not denying that they did great work, and they're definitely contenders for it. And I would give Erlen second place, and Vikram was going to go ahead and take third. So you guys are definitely up there in the top three, of course. I think there's, not much dispute about that. But due to the overall, I think Sheikhoo Missions is the one who really took this theme and ran with it and did something really enjoyable and had a lot of things crammed in there that just added to it. You know what I mean? Hopefully I'm not rambling too much and explaining myself. So anyone who sat through this long ramble festival review, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you've sat through this far and you don't know what the hell's going on, join the Discord if you want to participate in the future and maybe get your animation reviewed. And that's it for me. So thanks for watching, everybody. Boom.